Everyone, put SM, welcome to part 1 of our Nunu 124th Audi Quattro Sport S1 video build. So you may remember I built this kit a few years back now when it first came out and had a bit of a nightmare with the decals. At the time I was trialing a dehydrator to try and speed up the 2K drying process, which it did. It also sped up the decal drying process, which caused them to crack. And I'll be honest, while I finished that build, it kind of ruined the build for me big time. So I immediately bought the kit again, the decals, the detail upset, and it was always a planned build for the near future. And somebody left a comment the other day, I think it was Shunter? Shunter Motorsport, it might have been, asking will I do any more motorsport derived cars. And I thought, you know what, yes I will. So that's where this build came from. One of my favourite rally cars ever. Love this scheme. I prefer this version to the wide body car, you know, the mad thing with the massive spoiler on the back. Just because I remember this car rallying when I was young, and I've always loved this car. And I wanted to finally do what I would be classed as a model I was happy with. So this is what we're going to do today. So we've got the Nunu kit. We've already reviewed that, it's on the channel. We've got the Nunu detail upset as well. We've got some Edward seat belts. We've got the Reggie model decals, K&P wheels, and the Pro Scale colour match paint. So let's crack on with the build. Don't forget as well, you can get early access on all these videos as well as all these perks showing here by becoming a patron in the link down below. And your support is what keeps making me being able to make these videos. So thanks for watching. Let's crack on with the build. Let's go. So welcome to part 1 of our Nunu Audi Quattro Sport S1 video build. So we built this kit before. We've used these exact same Reggie model decals that I've got shown here as well, and the detail up shown. I've reviewed the kit in the past as well, so you can go back and look at the original review and the original build if you wish. But we're hoping today to build the best version of this I can, because as I mentioned previously, my first version got ruined. I used a dehydrator on the clear coat, which dried. Obviously the decals a bit too quick, cracked them, and just ruined the build for me. And I'll be honest now, I think I'm using superior paint, so I think we'll get a better paint finish as well. So I've got the colour match Pro Scale paints for this, the Audi Rally Yellow and White. We've got the detail upset from Nunu. We've got a Edward photo etched seatbelt set. And the Reggie model decals as well. We're cleaning up all the body first. So we've got a separate bumper on the front on this. We've got seam lines to take care of, and also some plastic injected bonnet pins to get rid of. We've got photo etch ones to replace later on. So using a variety, shall we say, of UMP sanding sponges and sticks, we're going to go around, remove these bonnet pins, remove all the seam lines, clean the body up until we've got a spotlessly perfect body to prep for primer. Now this front bumper, it is moulded separately. It's slide moulded, so there's no real seams on it. You can fit this now and glue it in place. That's what we're going to do. Just having a quick test fit. Now, spoiler alert, later on down the line, I've left the two front pieces on the front inner, let's see, wing on here. There's two extensions on the front that need cutting off. I kind of skipped through the instructions and not seeing it, and thankfully I notice it later on the build. So there's two extra lifts below that bumper there where the bumper ends. You'll see there's two extensions on the body there, right there now. They need cutting off. There's a mark inside on the body for you, to cut through. And thankfully I spotted it just after I painted it white. I managed to get them off with causing no damage. So seam lines front to back. This one on the roof is especially tricky because there's a little step up at the back end. So you need to take the seam off while not destroying that bump. So one of these 220 sponge sanders, thinny stick or thinny sponge from UMP, is perfect for this. And just some gentle sanding just on the edge, just to remove the seam line. They're not very pronounced. They are very easy sanded away. And it's actually a really nice body to clean up. So just go around front to back, look for any seams, any imperfections in the plastic, any fuzz or flash that may be there. None really on this. It's actually a really nice kit, and this is probably one of my well, I think it is my favourite Group B rally car. Is this the Group B one? It is, isn't it? It is the Group B, yes. I always get confused. Always get confused. So here we go. We're all cleaned up. We've got it mounted to our Tamiya stand. We've got our spoiler mounted as well. And we've got some Pro Scale paint, pre-paint degreaser. And what we're going to do now is we're going to wipe the whole body down with this. And this will clean our body of any fingerprints, any nasties, any what's it or Cheeto crumbs that may be behind when you've been eating, when you've been prepping the body. But this is an important step to degrease the body. I'd recommend our degreaser. It works absolutely fantastic. So run it all over the body, just every square inch. When you finish, go around with a dry piece of tissue and just dry it all off, and you're ready to go. Now, it's a beautiful summer's day here, and the birds outside are very joyous of that. So we can hear birds chirping away. Apologies, but there's a bit of ASMR. Yes, you can have that in the background. So we'll do our spoiler as well. I have also keyed the body here with a Tamiya 2000 grit sponge sander. I just missed me doing it. So we give our paint the best preparation here. Or the body the best preparation for our paint. So this is a time well spent. Got some Pro Scale Paints white primer. So like I say, we have thoroughly de-seamed the body. We've got our 3D holders. Look at this. These are all on the website now as well for our primer and our paint there as well. And it makes the paint a lot less easy to knock over. That makes sense. So we're going to apply several coats of our Pro Scale white primer. This is my Iwata CR3. We're about 18 psi. And we just want to put down nice light coats. Now, you're putting white primer on a white body. It is quite difficult to see. I would suggest using the light of your spray booth to look for the paint going down. But don't hose the paint on. No need to hose our paint on. It doesn't work like this at all. It just wants nice light thin coats building it up. We're probably going to put down about 4 coats of primer building it up. Now, like I say, body prep, it's key. It is absolutely key to getting the best possible paint job. So we've thoroughly de-seamed the body, so we've got a perfectly clean, seam-free body. We've gone round and rescribed anywhere that needs rescribing, which we didn't need to do on this one, to be honest. We've then keyed all the surface of the body with a 2000 grit Tamiya sponge. That will remove any surface imperfections and also put thousands of microabrasions in the bodywear to allow the primer to grip onto the body. And then we've thoroughly degreased it to get rid of any nasties that may prevent the paint sticking properly. And then we've mounted it securely to our Tamiya stand. So this is the best preparation we can give our body. Now I am wearing a respirator. I have my 3M 7500 half mask on with the appropriate filters. I've got my spray booth on and I'm gloved on the left hand, which is the only hand that gets covered in paint. So again, any paints, take precautions, whether they're water-based, enamel, lacquer, whatever. Take the same precautions. It's not always the VOCs you need to be worried about, it's also the particles as well. Now the primer's been drying for a good 6 hours now. We've got a Tamiya 3000 grit sponge this time, and we're going to go around just very lightly key the body. Now our primer, Pro Scale primer, is a microfiller, so it will drive a little bit of a texture. And the idea of that is that it will help infill any imperfections on the body. So when you do this stage now, which is sanding it back very lightly, the body will go super smooth. I love our primer. It works absolutely fantastic, and it will leave a super smooth, keyed and primed surface ready for our paint. And again, this goes towards a preparation where perfect preparation prevents piss poor performance. Still 6 P's, is it? So take your time here, and you can always repeat. If you burn through the primer, which is what we don't want to do here, reprime that spot, leave it a couple of hours, reprime. Take your time in this stage. Don't be in a rush. Take your time. So like I said, we've got Audi, Quattro, yellow and red. These are the proper colour match colours for the car. We've also got our 3D paint stand with pipette holder. Yes, with a pipette holder. These have been on our site for a while now. And again, handy storage solution for the pipette and the paint. And also prevents you spilling the paint as well. These are our stock. They are getting restocked very soon. But very handy to have in your spray booth. We're shaking the paint up to give it a real good mix, and using pipette, we're going to pop a little bit in our airbrush. So the same airbrush as when we were priming, Iwata CR3 Revolution, 18 psi to 0.3mm needle Iwata. We've got a Tamiya anti-static brush to get any dust or debris that may be left behind on the body. Just give it a good clean up, and the anti-static should prevent any dust and crap basically landing on the body from the spray booth as well. So like I say, I've still not noticed I need to cut those bits off, but thankfully I do before we get really far into the build. A little bit of a mistake by me, a little bit too eager to get this build done. It is one of my favourite cars, and I have subsequently bought the S2 version of this car. I think it is it S2? It is, the wide body kit as well, which again I've built in the past, so you may see that down the road as well. So Postcard paints, Audi Rally White, and again, very nice light thin coats. You do not put these on wet at all. Really nice light coats. Again, we're putting white on white, so it's very important to see what you're doing. Just nice light mist coats. We're probably going to put about 8 coats of white on. Very, very fine coats. And just build it up nice and slow. You do not want to put these on wet at all. There is no reason to put the paint on wet. We will get our gloss coat from our clear coat later on. So just nice light thin coats, using multiple coats to build it up. We'll also alternate between side to side and up and down passes, and that way we get full coverage in all the nooks and crannies, the grills, the panel lines, everywhere. There are quite a lot of recesses on this car, so it is time well spent. Not forgetting our spoiler as well, and don't forget smaller parts. They cover a lot faster, so they need a lot less paint. Very easy to overspray them, and yeah. There we go. I'm leaving about 5 to 8 minutes between coats to let it flash off. Literally, I just roll away on the chair. Not me, myself, although I could roll. I roll away from the booth, back to the computer, talk to the guys in the hangout, look at stuff on YouTube for 5 minutes, whatever. And then I come back for another coat. So I'm probably about halfway through the coat of paint here. And as you can see, the white is white. There's nothing really to write home about here, is there? But it is the perfect colour for the car, and as you can see, no problems. It's covering well. It's getting there. So yeah, just take your time here. The more time you take here, the better result you get. I see so many people rushing these stages. It's almost like in a height of giddiness to get to, the build finish. Enjoy the process, and the better you become at this, the better your modelling will get. The painting, especially on cars, is one of the most critical parts of the build. So if you get to this stage and you spot an imperfection in the body, maybe it's a seam line, or where I've sanded those body pins away they're still showing, or a 3D print layer line, go back a step and fix it. It's fairly simple to do at this stage. If say I had one of those body pins still showing through, I'd stop here right now, clean the airbrush, put everything away or to one side, let the paint dry. I'd flack back that area to get rid of it. I'd spot prime that area, let the primer dry, sand it back, flat it back, and repaint, and then that's it. You fix that area. Same if you're spotting seam lines, just stop what you're doing there and then. More and more lately, I'm doing a guide coat of primer, literally prepping the car as good as I can, popping a single coat of primer down, letting it dry, and then having a real good look at the body to look for any imperfections I've left behind, and that is the perfect time to fix it. So don't settle for less, fix the problem. Trust me, it's well worth doing. I don't always do it, don't get me wrong, but if I can fix it, I'll always try my best. Now, in the Regimold decals, we need to mask off for the yellow. Now, this is a particularly tricky stage. It takes a lot of time doing this. The decals form the demarcation between the yellow and the white paint. So look at real life references of the car and just look at where they are. Now thankfully on the extended arches of this is roughly where the demarcation is. So the best advice I can give is do the front and rear arches, then infill the centerpiece as I've done here. So I've used Azu 1mm tape for the first mask line, and then this is the 2mm, just to infill it a little bit wider to make it easier for me to mask later on when I'm doing the wider points. Now apologies for going out of shot a little bit, or out of focus rather, but again, this stage here, take your time. If you take your time and you use good quality tape, you'll have no issue and you'll get no bleed through. I think I had one tiny little bit of bleed through, and I don't think it was through my tape. It was where I hadn't properly masked the inside of the body, and when I'd sprayed through it, it'd come through that area. So I did have to do a little bit of touching up on this. And trust me, use good quality tapes. Tamiya, Azu. I'm not a fan of Frog. I've used it before. It bleeds through. I've had problems with it. The Tamiya and Azu look to be made of roughly the same stuff. And as long as they're properly burnished down, no issues at all. And also keep your tape stored in bags or a box out of the way, especially the AZUs because they are loose. Keep them out of the way of dust. Now here you go, look, I've literally just realised, I'm supposed to cut these bits off. So thankfully I can save this because I caught it at the right time. So I've already cut the top one off. I've got my JLC razor saw, and there's a little line inside the body that you can perfectly line the razor saw up. Now, it's a little bit tricky because I'm trying to show you guys on camera here as well. I wouldn't normally hold it like this. But yeah, I'm just working my way through slowly, just making sure. And there we go. Perfect. Job done. So, with the whole car masked off, we've sanded the edge of that cut where we just did it. We've got our yellow now. And as you can see, luckily, where we cut that extra piece of plastic off, it's getting painted yellow. So once it was flatted back, it made no damage to the primer. We can spray the yellow. Now again, nice light thin coats. Yellow, yellow is a particularly tricky colour to spray. It's quite opaque. Thankfully, because our paints aren't over thinned, they cover really, really well. Now we want to put enough paint down without creating a flood through the masking tape, and also a giant step on the body. So really nice thin coats when you're spraying onto masked areas. When you're doing this, don't forget the inner part of the wheel arches as well, because you'll see it when you turn it from side on. But literally, we've got a yellow stripe on the top and bottom of the car, and then we've got some decals to infill the areas in between to make the demarcation. So nice and easy to spray, just needs a couple of light coats on each side, let it flash off. And again, I'll probably put 7 to 8 light coats of the yellow down just to get the coverage. And yeah, it's sprayed absolutely beautiful. Same airbrush, HPC Plus, sorry, HCR3 Revolution, my bad. And as you see, after a few coats, the coverage getting really nice. And just make sure you're happy before you stop. You don't want to take the masking off and think, I haven't quite got the coverage there, or out to demarcation of the masking tape and have to spend hours masking it again. Yeah, just keep going until you're happy with the coverage. Like I said, I probably put 7 or 8 light coats down, again letting it flash off, 5 minutes in between. And as you'll see in a minute, there you go, there's the full coverage of the yellow, absolutely beautiful colour. As you see in a minute when I mask it, mine went pretty well. Very happy how it went. So there we go. So don't be in a rush. Just take your time at this stage. Again, it's probably this with the decals and the clear coat are probably the most prominent part of the kit, of the car you're building. So it makes sense to spend the most time doing it, and then you can send that process on to the rest of the build and take your time everywhere else. Why be in a rush when you can enjoy the build and do as good as you can? Now, the tedious unmasking, what took hours to do takes literally minutes or seconds to undo. Always pull the tape away from yourself. Don't pull it towards yourself. You don't want to put any stress on that paint. And as you can see, beautiful demarcation on the paintwork. And like I say, the only little bit of bleed through I've got is where I can quite mask the inside of the body. And I've had some yellow come through the vents. You can see it on the bonnet there a little bit. So all I need to do is just a little bit of whitening around those vents. Really easy to do. And there we go. Now we've got a very slight step on the paint, but we'll flat that back with our 3000 Tamiya sponge just before we get to decaling, which we are here. So having a quick look, trying to figure out which way round the gold stripe goes on these demarcation decals, because there's a gold stripe at either the top or the bottom. And I finally figured it out by looking at some real pictures. So very good decals from Reggie Model. I've always had good success with them. They've always laid down well. I've used this set before, so I know they go down absolutely perfect. So use a nice fresh blade and our Tamiya knife. We're going to cut the decals out, and we're just going to work through them systematically as per the instructions until we get them all down. So I always pick the trickiest decals first. So for me, it's these stripes. These are the ones that are very important to get right. And then those 3 flashes of colour that go on the bonnet and the C-pillar. So that's what we're going to concentrate on here. I've got my coffee warmer top right with my trumpeter decal tray on with some water in, so we get some nice warm water. We've got our UMP decal solutions, and we're just going to go through and place all the decals. Now, any decals like this to continue in a line together, I will put them all on together just to make sure we get them all lined up and cut to the right length. Now you may find that one or two are a bit longer than they need to be. Like this one here is ever so slightly too long and just needs a little bit of a trim in the door shuts. So yeah, make sure you get it all in place and leveled out. And I definitely would recommend putting the other decals on either side before you fully commit to setting anything in place, just to make sure they all reach, just to make sure that everything is in the right position. But yeah, Reggie decals, absolutely fantastic. And there we go, there's the front and the rear now. They all line up pretty well. Like I say, find some real life pictures of the car, have a look at the references, look where the decals go, and yeah, that can help you immensely in the builds. A bit of heat as well helps settle everything in place. Don't go mad, you don't be melting the plastic. As you can see, we've got both sides on now as well. Just a little bit of heat. And there we go. These decals, tricky. This side, not too bad. The other side, where the vent is a pig. And mine actually, yeah, it's split in one of the vents. I ended up using a bit of our colour match colours, which we sell for the other Audi, the Nunu Audi, for that very light grey. And you know what? I just very lightly brushed it in there, and it was the perfect match. Absolutely perfect colour. Now the other thing I did notice is on the real car that butts up to the top of the yellow on that wing, and on the real car when you look down the centre of the bonnet or the hood, the decal line is straight, and on mine it wasn't. It was off centre. You can see it's angled like into the front of the bonnet. So I was looking at it, and the more I looked at it, the more it annoyed me. I thought, you know what, then I'm going to set it in place. I'll get the other one on, and then we'll grab a ruler and we'll very, very lightly cut a piece off. So yeah, that should be a straight line in the middle, not on an angle. So I'm not 100% sure what's going on there, because I've got my yellow in the right place and the decals look right. I don't remember doing this on the other kit, but I'm just resting my ruler on there. It's a bit sketchy doing this, so be very careful if you do decide to do this. I'm straightening the ruler up. I've got a brand new scalpel blade. I'm just going to very, very lightly run it over the decal. No real pressure. Like so. And that should leave us with a nice straight edge then. Just where we want it. There we go. Much better. So we've got a straighter edge there now. Not as pronounced an angle as you can see. And we'll just push it into the vent, a little bit of decal solutions, and then we'll repeat that for the other side as well. So it looks much better now. Whether it's a mistake on my mask, and I don't think it is. I think I was pretty much bang on. But you can see just how much I'm removing. It's not a huge amount, but it's just enough to straighten the decal up. Like I say, it is a bit sketchy doing this, but I am putting barely any pressure on that blade at all. Just enough so it slices through the decal. Hold your breath time this. Careful, careful, there we go. Much better. My OCD is not kicking off as much now, they're much straighter. There we go, and the same on the back. Now these ones, very, very tight fit. They probably could have been a mil or two longer each side because it literally only just fits. So you need to make sure it overhangs the back window recess there and the side window recess as well at the bottom. So yeah, really take your time there, because if you don't do that, you'll have a gap when you put the windows in and it'll show white where the decal should be. So really take your time. And the rest of the decals went on absolutely fantastic. This to me is literally one of the most iconic rally cars ever. There's 3 or 4 I love. This, the Audi Quattro, the Lancia Delta Integrale Evolution, Escort Cosworth, all the Mark II Escorts, and a lot of the Evolutions as well, and of course the Subarus. It's mostly the late 80s, 90s rally cars for me, because they're all the ones I watched. RS200s, yeah, awesome cars, awesome machines. So decals are all on, they've all been drying. We've cut any panel lines where the decals go through, made sure everything's set in place with the decal solutions from Ultimate Modeling Products and our heat gun. And now we've got a Tamiya dark grey panel line wash. I'm just going to do a panel line wash and everything. Now, on that decal on the bonnet, I made a mistake on my first one, not decal, the vent. I put in wash in there and I instantly regretted it because it just looked odd. So we're not going to do it this time. And as you can see, unfortunately off camera, I've infilled that cracked decal with our colour match paint, and it is a perfect colour. You cannot see where I've done it at all. So very happy to see that one of my colour match paints is the exact colour for the car. It's a nice thing to see that. So we let the wash dry for 30 minutes or so, and then wipe it off with a cotton bud with some Santador from Winsor & Newton on it, and then using a clean bit of tissue just to very lightly rub. You don't want to apply a lot of pressure, because obviously these decals are unsealed, but we need enough on there to get the wash off. And this is where the car really starts to come alive now. Looks absolutely fantastic. So that's dried now for, I think I let that dry for about 2 days, and we're in the spray booth and we're going to clear coat it. So we're wetting all the surface of our spray booth. Now we've got the Pro Scale 2K set. This is our 3-part system. We've got our clear coat, which is here. So this is a 2-to-1 mix of clear coat to activator. So that's say 10 milliliters of clear. I'm going to add 5 milliliters of activator. So 10 milliliters of clear, 5 ml of activator, 2-to-1 mix, 2 parts clear, 1 part activator. So there we go. There's 5 milliliters of activator. So we've got a fresh pipette for the activator. We pop our lids back on, get that out of the way. We're then going to mix together like so, and get it all mixed, and the chemical reaction started, the catalyst, I believe it is. And then we're going to throw that pipette away and never ever use that again. Do not use that pipette to put in any other bottles. You will contaminate your 2K set. With another fresh pipette, we're now going to add 5% of thinner to the mix. So we've got 15 milliliters of clear and hardener, and 5% of that is 0.75 milliliters. Again, we mix it all together, and again we throw the pipette away and never use it again. So as simple as that, really easy to mix. You'll be able to judge how much 2K you need going forward. The more you do it, the more you'll realise. I just do this mix as a matter of course now, and it tends to be, I have a little bit of wastage, but it tends to be roughly about the right amount. So we're going to strain the 2K. So we've got a 190 micron paint strainer, which you sell on Pro Scale as well. I think it's an important stage with the 2K because the activator does get a bit of dried activator around its lid. So I think it's always worth doing this. With that strained and in the airbrush ready to go, we've got our anti-static brush. We're mounted to the stand again. And we're ready to go. So I want a CR5 this time, which is the 0.5 mil version of my Revolution. This is a standalone airbrush I use just for 2K, and we're going to put down a nice wet coat to begin with, semi-wet coat, not a full wet coat, and build it up. So you just want to see a nice kind of gloss finish going down, and just work our way around the body till it's done. Now some safety warnings, as I always do. Number one, make sure you got good respirator on. I've got a full face 6900 3M respirator with the appropriate filters. I've got my bench vent extractor on. I've got a window cracked open ever so slightly next to me to allow a proper through draft. I've got full length gloves on each arm. Looks like you're going to be inseminating cattle. I'm not. I do that over the weekend. I've got nitrile gloves on each hand. That left hand is double gloved with a nitrile glove as well, and I'm on my own, no pets, no family in the room with me, and I will vacate the room once I finish 2King while it off gases for a few hours. And as long as you follow those precautions, you'll be just fine using 2K. The respirator, gloves and spray booth are probably the most essential part of it. I would highly recommend the full face 6000 series 3Ms. It's what I've been using for a while now, and you can get them cheap on eBay as well. Now we've got my plastic box to the left, which is what we're putting the body in while it flashes off. That prevents any dust landing on there. As you can see, there are some vents in the side of it to allow to off gas in there, and we're just going to put a coat of clear on the spoiler as well, and we'll pop all this in the box for 5 minutes to let the 2K flash off and become super tacky. Because on our second coat now, which is the same as the first coat, a nice wet coat, the super tackiness of the previously applied clear will prevent any surface runs. So nice wet coat. Don't go crazy though. We're not trying to get a full clear coat on this pass. We'll get that from our third pass in a minute. I'm just going to go around systematically all around the car and get our beautiful clear coat down. And again, this is another step that brings the car alive. It always brings the paint alive and the decals. And what we want here is a finish that looks like glass. I know I harp on about this. I'm trying to drum it into people to push a bit more with their 2Ks. I see so many people 2K with any brand of 2K, and they're just not quite put enough down, and they end up with orange peel or a bit of a ripply surface. You can really push 2K, especially my 2K Pro Scale. You can push it past what you think. You want it to look just like glass when you're all done, because how it ends up here is how it's going to dry. So you want to get the best job you can, because that'll save you hours of sanding and polishing to a finish that, to be honest, you could almost leave as is out the brush. Although I would recommend flattening and polishing it up, you will get a better finish. But just don't be afraid to push it a little bit further, especially Pro Scale. I've used loads of 2Ks over the years. You know, Pro Scale is our business, but I am a modeler at heart. I've used a couple of dozen different 2Ks over the years, and this one is by far the most forgiving and gives the best results and dries the fastest as well. So don't be afraid to push it. Just try it. Just push it a little bit more. You want a perfect 2K surface. It should look like glass. Now we'll pop that back in there after that second coat. I'm putting my leftover mix in a fresh medicine cup so I can see how much is in there, and we're going to thin it another 10%. So if we've got 10 milliliters of clear mix still left, 10% of that will be 1 milliliter. So we're going to put 1 milliliter of thinner in there, mix it up. This will make the 2K a lot thinner. It does not need a lot of thinner in it, 2K, at all, and this will spray a lot easier now, and for that reason as well, it'll also self-level better too. So time well spent here, and I find this is the best way of applying our 2K. I tried many different ways. Some people say thinner 20% from the start. Don't. Stick with my 5% from the start, first 2 coats, and on the last coat apply 10% more thinner and go over it again. Now this is the stage where we want it to be perfect. We don't want any imperfections, and this is your chance to do it. So we'll go around once, a nice pass, and then we'll just put it down for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, pick it back up and have a look. And if we can see any orange peel, we're going to put down just a little bit more 2K until it's gone. Like I say, it's self-leveling, it's very, very forgiving, and this is the time to get rid of any imperfections. As you see, it's going down well. It's looking good. And there we go. So I popped that back in. I've done the spoiler as well, and I've picked it up and using my light now just to angle it and look for any ripples, orange peel, imperfections, and now is your time to get rid of them. If you see a little spot like I have there on the back, don't be afraid to spray a little bit more. Trust me, push it further than you think. You want this to look as good as possible now. And there we go. I think that is about as good as we're going to get that. It looks absolutely spot on. A little tiny bit on the roof. As you see, I'm not putting a lot down. It doesn't take a lot because it does self-level out really quick. And then back in our box to allow it to cure. So we're going to leave that for at least a week. I find a week the best. This will be touch dry in about 4 hours. I can handle this, but I don't like to polish them before a week. You could polish it after 24 hours if you want. I think you get the best result after a week. So I always do this stage first. That body can then cure while I'm working on the rest of the car. And by the time you've usually done all the rest of the car, the body is ready to be polished and you're ready to go. And as you can see, beautiful clear coat finish. Looks absolutely fantastic. So there we go. There's the end of part 1. We'll be back in part 2 very, very soon. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. And if you like early access on those videos, there is a Patreon link in the description down below. All the perks for Patreon are on screen right now. So well worth coming over and joining us. And there we go. So thanks for watching. And as always, thanks to all my wonderful patrons whose names are going to flash up on the screen at the end of this video. Take care. Bye-bye.